Hi everyone, it's Ted here, and today we're going to start working our way through sequence of play for black powder. This is basically beginner's level way of start playing black powder. Um, so if you're interested, um, this is why you can just watch, and get an idea what it is. So what we got set up here. This is the basic units that you get in the Waterloo starter box set. All except for these two figures here. In the box set, you get two foot mounted brigade commanders. I don't use those. I use all my brigade commanders are mounted just to make them. So if you look at the table, you know exactly who they are. So these are just replacements for that. But the troops, the artillery, and cavalry are all what's in the basic box set. What you get two British line here, and one Hanoverian line, and an artillery piece. And for the French, you get two line infantry regiments and and one light cavalry regiment. So this the basic rundown is this is the stats for the British Army, and we're going to be looking at the line infantry. This is the second one down underneath the guard. They're regular infantry. They armed with smoothbore muskets. Hand to hand, there are six. That's how many dice you're going to roll in hand to hand. Shooting is a three. How many dice you roll when you're shooting. Your morale, that's the number you need to roll that number or higher to survive casualties. Not really casualty, just a morale check. We'll get to it. Get that. Stamina is how many hits a unit gets before you start doing morale checks. A unit check. And and the special is first fire. Those are the special orders that you can assign to each regiment to give ability. So the British get first fire because they're trained in musketry fire. So how we start this, you decide whatever scenario you're running. A scenario, historical battle, how you got set up. You deploy your forces, depending on how they are. So this is one brigade, three regiments. One brigade would attach artillery. Same thing. The French have two infantry in their brigade with attached cavalry. Now the cavalry, you can have one unit of 12, or for the size, you can break it down. You can have two small units of cavalry. So how this we're gonna have it broken down to two small units. All it is, you get less attacks, but you get two units you can move around the table. And in this time period, cavalry are important for a couple of items, which we'll get to show you when we get to. Now for the French, basically their stats are basically the same thing. Uh, for line infantry, except the French they get a special maneuver for attack for a special French attack column, which we'll come to, which we get to that. But everything else is the same for them, for the regular cav. For the light cavalry, see here. Yep. At the light cavalry, they normally would get six attacks, shooting. Don't worry about shooting or stuff like that. You can add shooting if you want to musket, but in the game they don't. By this time period, they don't really use those unless you want to have dismounteds, and which are more than what the basic box set covers. Light cavalry, morale's 4. Their stamina is 3, just like infantry, and their special maneuver is Marauder. Marauder, once we become the command phase, is when you give them orders, they can be away from your commander. So once we come to that phase, we can go over that. So this is this in the one of those star set, you get a cardboard cover with this on it. This is I just downloaded from their website. This is just to move sequence and stuff. So on the cheat sheet, the first thing you do is sequence of play. This is when it's your side's turn. This is the 3 steps you do when you move. You got a command phase, a shooting phase, then a hand-to-hand phase. Nice and simple. So in the command phase, this is where your leader will give commands to move your troops. Uh, your commanders will have staff leadership rating, staff rating. This is how good they are. It can be any number from 1 to 10. 10 is the highest you can be. This is the best officers in the table, or it could be 1, a more inept officer. So, but most of my games I run 8. It's like middle of the line, and it gives everyone a chance to do something. But if you do an historical battle, you can adjust the leaderships of the different commanders, and they make it more historical how they were. So our commanders are going to be a leadership 8. So when it's your side's turn, what you do, get this stuff out of the way, is you nominate wherever brigade you want to move, and you tell the other player what that brigade is going to do. So this is the thing about the black powder is, so like, okay, I want to move this command, this infantry regiment, I want to move it forward. So I'm going to move this unit, and you tell them where you want to move them to on the table. So infantry move at 12 inches. So that's one thing you got to remember, is they move a lot. These can be adjusted for home. If you want a smaller table, you can change the distance if you want to. But the basic rules is a 12-inch move. So this is made for big tables, and you will move fast. You will get in combat faster. So the commander will start wherever he is. Now, he wants to give an order to this unit to move forward and do it once. So if you just want to move forward a small amount, you can do a small amount. You can do a large amount. To enter a hand-to-hand combat, they have to be given the order to charge. So if you order these guys to move forward and you roll the dice, if you roll an 8, which is his command rating, they get 1 move. So if you told them to move far forward, but they only get 1 move, they'll move 12 inches, and that's how far they move. If you rolled a 7, which is the same thing, you roll the command rating 1 less, you get 1 move. Now, if you rolled a 6, a total of a 6, which is 2 less, then you get 2 moves. And anything below a 6, a 3, a 5 or less, which is 3 less than the number you needed, you get 3 moves. So if you say, I'm moving this far, and if it's like 13 inches, you make a roll. If you roll that your command rating or 1 less, you'll move 12, and that's as far as you're going to move. Now, if you said, I'm going to move 1 move, but you roll like a 4, which is 4 or less, you only move where you told them to move. Even though you can have 3 moves, but you told them to move this section right here, that's as far as they're going to move. So if you made a roll that you could have ended up in contact with an enemy unit, you can't do it, because unless you ordered them to move and charge an enemy, they will not do it. So the only way you can enter hand in combat is when you activated a unit, they're gonna be, you tell them to charge if you make contact. Then if you do move far enough to hit, they get to move into contact. But if you did not give them the order to charge, you will not make contact. You'll stop an inch away. Now for formations, when you give your orders to change formation, costs you a move. So right now, these guys are in the standard British line, which is all the able to fire at full firepower. Now, you can have them change formation if you want to. One is a march column, which is basically just lined up right behind each other. That's a march column. This allows you to snake your way through areas of obstruction and stuff. And also bonus to being in a march column, if you roll over your command rating, that commander is done giving orders for the turn. So that's one thing. If you make 8 or less, you can keep giving orders. If you roll over, you're done. He screwed up his orders. But if you're in a column of march like this, even if you fail to give them orders, they still get one move. They'll still just keep plodding forward. So they still get one move if you want to. Uh, the other, another one's called an attack column, which is like this. It's for you get bonuses for being an attack column, which is your command goes up. But then artillery gets bonuses to shoot at you. So it's a trade-off. You get better morale. So if your command rating was an 8, if you're an attack column, that unit goes to a 9. So it's easier to give orders. But there is a trade-off on it. So if you're an attack column, but when people shoot at you, you can take more casualties. It's because you guys are more packed up and cannonballs bouncing through. Now, the other one, which is skirmish. Certain units can skirmish if you want to. And you can mount. There's certain ways you can mount them and stuff like that. You can have skirmish, but if you do use skirmish, then you can just like spread them apart a little bit like this. Then they're in skirmish formation. That's if you want to go skirmish. Then you get there's bonuses. It's harder to shoot skirmishers because they're deployed, and they cover the force coming up behind you, which we'll come to. That comes in when we come into the shooting phase. So those are the two. Basically, most British are they fight in lines because that's what the ability. In the rules, the British cannot form attack columns. It was not their deal. Their deal was thin red lines of this disciplined musketry fire. So commander, he said, okay, has this unit said I want that unit to move up. All you need to do is roll your dice. I rolled a 5, which is 3 less than command rating of 8. That means I get to move 3 moves. So you take measure, and when you move, you measure from the center of the units, the command stance. So move up. So if I said to move 13 inches, I rolled 3, so I get 3 moves. They can move the full 13, but like I said, if I just rolled an 8 and I want to move 13, I will stop at 12. That's as far as they can move because I only move 1 move. Now, to say like I had 3 moves and I said I wanted to move as far as I can and charge if I can. If a unit is within the 3 moves, I'll move forward and assault. Go into combat with the unit. Once you go into combat, the defending unit gets a fire against you as you come in. So if any hits or penalties on you takes effect, then you go into combat, then you get unit is locked in combat. So if I say like these guys are in line and I wanted to deploy them, I rolled my dice. I got a 10. Now, if I rolled a 10 in that order, no move, and these guys were able to move 12 inches if they wanted to as a free movement or stay where they are. But if I did make it, I rolled a 6, that gives me 2 orders. So my orders would be change formation into line and 1 move forward. So movement, let's go in the line, and they go forward. Nice and simple. Now, if you want to change the directions, so if you guys are lined up here, there's enemy on this flank over here. And if you want to bring these troops over, in Black Powder, they give a lot of leeway on it. So a lot of rules, it's called a wheel maneuver. But here, you just measure, you give the order. So I want these guys to form up here. You roll. I got 8, so I get 1 move. You measure from the front up to 12 inches. Move the command stand, and the unit will line up right there. Nice and simple and fast. So nothing complicated. Now, for movement, there we go. So that's that's a quick and easy way to maneuvering. So about face, if you want to turn around, same thing. Um, it doesn't really cover the rules, but we take that as a movement because you're technically formation change. You're changing to the rear. So turn around, then you can march that way. If you're just backing up, you just move. You can back up if you want to keep facing, or if you want to march. So it's up to you. So there's a lot of leeway in the rules, so you can have your own system put in there to see what to cover it. So that's the basic maneuver. That's maneuver. So always give orders, and that unit will follow those orders. Now, there's two different ways. You can give like a regimental, which is you just give the orders to this unit here, this regiment, or you can do a brigade order. A brigade order is you got your brigade commander. He can give the orders to his whole brigade, and you have to do basically the same thing. So if you're just marching up to the field, he can go, I'm going to give these 3 units all one order. So I want all these orders. I want these 3 units to move far forward as they can. So I rolled 11. Now, I failed. So that the brigade, he failed. That unit's done. No more orders can be given. So he fumbled the orders. But okay, this is yeah. It'd be a long day. There we go. There's a 3. So his orders were to move as far forward as you want. I rolled a 3, which is less than 3, so you get 3 move. So these guys will move forward 36 inches, but they stay in the same formation. So if I wanted to give an order as I want them to move forward once and go in the line. I want this unit to go here, this unit to go here. I would roll. Oh darn! I rolled the boxcars. And in the game, when you roll boxcars, you screwed up your orders. You got a chart in the book was called the blunder table. This is what happens if you roll boxcars. So the order for these 3 units was to go in the line and move if they could. So I rolled boxcar. You go to this blunder table, and all you do is roll die 6. You do exactly what it says. Die 6 is I rolled a 3. A 3 is move to the left. The unit will attempt to move to position to its own left, making 1 move into its own left quarter as far as it can go. So these guys would move 12 inches that way. So you measure from here, you move 12 inches. Everyone slides over 12 inches. So his order was to move forward. They decided to move that way. So it actually could help you, or it could really open up a hole right in your line. Because there is some, well, if you roll 1, it's a rapid retreat. You march off the table. That's always fun as your allies watch your army, just your division march off the table. You got a rapid retreat, a retreat, move to the left, move to the right, move forward, or charge. That's another one. If you roll a 6, you could then you roll another dice to see how many moves you get. So you drop another dice 6. So I rolled it to 1 or 2, you get 1 move. 3 to 4, you get 2 moves. So these guys will move forward one and stay in the formation they are. So it could be good or bad. I've had instances where a unit I rolled a charge right into some very nasty artillery pieces, and they went poof when the artillery fired and closed. Because when you charge, the enemy unit gets closing fire on you. So rolling boxcars is bad. Now, so we covered. So if you do make it, so a 6, which is 2, I get 2 moves. So these guys, you form line and move forward into line. So it's nice and simple. You don't have to worry about wheeling and stuff. Units can move through units, no problem. Because these troops are disciplined at the time, so they're trained to maneuver. You just cannot end your move on a unit. So if a movement ends up here, you will just end up here. Same thing, if you have to fall back and your movement ends on the troop, you just keep falling back until you get cleared. So when you start falling back in close quarters, you start bouncing back farther. So, oh, sorry about that. So movement basic and giving orders. So if a commander is within 12 inches, it's normal roll. If he's farther away, it's a -1 on your roll for every 12 inches they're away. So if he's like 13 inches away, you roll at 70 and 8, you're going to need a 7 or less, and everything's deducted from there. So farther away from your unit you are, lower it goes. So you want to be close to your unit. Now, in for movement, usually you have to get command orders to move. But there's one particular one which is called initiative move. Initiative move is in the command phase. If your unit is within 12 inches of an enemy unit, you guys call it initiative move. Initiative move is the regimental commander will issue an order to that regiment. So he sees the enemy, it's close, and he can give the order. And the order, it's one order. It can be you can fall back, or you can charge if you wanted to, or you can move forward closer if you wanted to. It's just that, and you don't have to roll for it. It's automatically done. It's just the regimental commander's taking over the orders immediately. I need these orders. But it counts as a move for the turn. So if a unit is weakened from shooting or something like that, and if he wants to get him away, and he can get one move to fall back if he wants to. So if you have a fresh unit behind them, they can fall back behind that unit if you want to. So they get a 12-inch move. Now, it's one move, but there is an order, what's called there's a 12-inch box right here. This box is that a unit will not march across the front of that unit or any way to put themselves into harm from that unit. So they won't turn their flanks to the unit. So either it's basically a straight move, their movement quarter back, which is there's a 45 degree, so they can move back or they can charge forward. So either you can get them locked into a unit or you can get them out of harm's way. It's just an initiative move. It covers cavalry and cavalry artillery too. I said if you're an attack column, you take more casualties, but with attack column, said your morale goes up, but you also get say your leadership gets better. So the French are famous for their attack columns. They get a special one that gives them better bonus. The French, their attack column, they also get the +1, but they also they get another +1 for being attacked. They get +2, and they get +1 to their save. So this is their preferred attack. If you don't have to use it, they can fight in line and everything like that. But as the wars progressed and more conscripts got into the army, it became easier to control them this way. So it gets better. But I said artillery gets better chances to hit them. So it's a trade-off on there. So if you're a march column, if you're an attack column, it's +1, but the French get better. That's not. I made one little slip. If you're a march column, your leadership goes to 2. Not 1, it's 2. So I make sure I get that. And here we go. Artillery. If artillery, same thing. Usually, if you're moving, it's kind of turned backwards, unless if you have a case on for them, then you can attach a case on or anything marked. So it's limbered up. When they're limbered, that's how you move. They move just like infantry do. They move 12 inches for foot artillery. If they're horse artillery, they move 18 inches. That's how much cavalry can move. So if they're limbered up, they can move 18 inches. And also when they're limbered up in march column, they get +1 to the move to leadership. And if they're on a road, it's +2. So if you're in a march column on a road, it's +2. If you're off the road, it's +1. There you go. Make sure I get that right and say it right. So for artillery, if you want to move artillery, basically it's from the commander. If you just want 12 inches, it's basically roll. You roll. I rolled a 6. So you get 2 moves. They can move forward and unlimber. Boop. Or they can limber up and move away. And they get 1 limber or unlimber. So if you're limbered, they can move forward and unlimber. And you can always fire when you unlimber. Horse artillery can limber, move, and unlimber. So they're a little bit more flexible, but when they start, they take less casualties. So they're a little bit more fragile, but they can maneuver faster because they're all horse mounted and stuff. Now, let me put this guy back in the line. Get the French out. Get the French back. Now, cavalry. Cavalry are fast. The Chevalier Legier cavalry here, which is considered a light cavalry, they get to move 18 inches. So they are really fast, and they can maneuver around the table. And since these are marauders, they can be as far away from the commander, and it's still the basic number. So even these guys are all the way across the table, there's still 8 or less maneuver because they're trained to be away from the command radius. Now, when you move the horses, they move the exact same way. You got horses in line or horses in march column. So either way, it's the same. The one special thing, the cavalry. So if you have a cavalry on the wing over here, and you're going to declare this cavalry, get back in the picture here, it's going to charge and want to make contact with its infantry. So they're going to charge in and try to hit the cavalry. So infantry in this time period will form square. Not all, but most must form square when cavalry approaches. So this cavalry is going to it's going to make a roll, and if it's more than 12 inches away, it's going to do a command roll. You got 7. So it gets 1 move. So since it's more than 12 inches away, it's not going to make contact. But soon as these guys move in 12 inches of the cavalry, the infantry, they must form square. So you do a leadership check. Well, snake eyes. That means I formed, and you just put them in like a square formation to show that they are in square. Flag. Now, these guys form square. Now, if your cavalry made the roll to make contact, cavalry will not charge squares. All these little pointy bits sticking out. The horses don't like that. So they will move with the 12 inches and stop. And hold their ground. And as long as these guys are within 12 inches of this infantry, these guys will stay in square. So this is the way you lock infantry in squares. And if you're in square, enemy has artillery, they get bonuses of shooting you in square. So that's what the cavalry is for. You move the cavalry up, make the infantry go in square, and let your artillery just gun them down. So, for infantry, so if the cavalry comes up and they make the charge, they can't. You can house rule it. I've seen a lot of guys house rule it where they'll allow the cavalry to keep moving and try to hit another target. So historically, that's what we've done. The cavalry will come up. These guys form square. They can't do it. They'll try to adjust their charge to another one. And this is the way you can actually make units form square. And this is what historically you used your cavalry for, is to force the infantry to get them in a square so your artillery, or if your musketry could fire, because when you're in square, you get limited shots on each side. So it lowers your firepower. So once you get them in square, you have your artillery, you can just pommel them with your artillery. So that's one thing you got to look out for cavalry. That's why you have your cavalry by your guys to counteract their cavalry. So if the French cavalry was here, and just say like you had a yeah, your infantry square here, but you had a uh, your own cavalry on the flank. When you charge, you gotta charge the nearest one. So if these guys would charge, they wouldn't charge the infantry. Say the infantry's in line. Like the infantry was in line here, but you had a cavalry regiment here. So if they were the closest, they would have to charge there if you have a British cavalry. And if the British cavalry wanted to, they could, if they haven't activated this turret, they could countercharge the French cavalry. And all it is if you countercharge, they move forward. You move forward and you meet right in the middle and have a fight out. So your cavalry is covering your infantry. If that happens, you don't have to form square. But say like if your cavalry gets run off or defeated, and they're beginning your turn, they're within 12 inches, you will try to form square. You roll. If you make it, you form square. Now, if you fail your command roll, you still form square, but you be disordered. And if your square is disordered, then it can be charged. This is how to break a square. So if you disorder a square, it's that yes, you're in square, but you're so disorganized that you can't form a solid defense. So if you failed, you go in square, but if you failed it, they're disordered, then they can be charged. So that's how you beat a square. You disorder it, or you send an infantry unit in to smack into it. But now, if you and if you roll boxcars, you foobarred the rule. And what we do in our game is you go to the blunder table. Yes, consider a fail, but he gave an order. The guy they just mindly follow orders, so they will follow. So they could actually charge the cavalry, which they will get massacred. But if you read a lot of battles, some of the stuff did happen. So it's just something that we do, but it may technically be a failed order. So you still form up, it'd be a failed order. But we like to do the blunder. So your infantry can actually move away. So, and with cavalry, and once we get the hand to hand, cavalry would go in the hand to hand. If they beat, and they still had movement left, so like these guys were 12 inches away from the ear, and you made a roll. So, say you rolled a 3. That gives you 3 moves. So these move forward, make contact with this infantry unit. If the cavalry wins and they push the unit back, they still get the move because they still only move 12 inches. They still got 24 inches of movement. So they could, this unit has to fall back, bounce back here. These guys could actually charge and hit this unit, and we do another round of combat. You only get one breakthrough, and you don't have to do the breakthrough if you don't want to. So if you move forward, you defeated this unit or destroyed this unit, you can have these guys stand here, or you can have them just keep going. Now, if you're joining the British Army, their cavalry must do a breakthrough with their cavalry. So even if they're wounded and stuff, they'll still keep going forward. So it'd be a new line of kind. So when you move into charge, we get more of this when we get into charge. You always get the enemy gets closing fire. It's just these guys will fire onto them, and they could disorder them, or they can take casualty. But during a breakthrough, you do not get closing fire because they're not seeing. All you see is this massive men running through the right, and the cavalry's right on top of them, so they don't get closing fire. If you have a woods, moving through woods is half your speed. Going over, if you're going over a wall, it's just half your movement. Uh, Entering a building is half your movement. Occupying a building. Um, and artillery is the same thing. They get one free move if the command rolled failed. They still get, if they're limber, they still get one move. So they. Oh, and a square gets one move, so they can move around. And if your order has failed to move them, they still can move. You get half move. They get one move, so it's still. So even if you're a square, you still can move around. So you can try and move your guys away from Cavalry, but that's the basic gist of movement. It's not that difficult, but the most important rule you got to remember is when you're going to move, you tell your opponent what that unit's going to do during your movement. So you get the British infantry line here. It wants to charge. If you do not tell them that you're going to charge, you cannot charge. So I'm going to move these guys forward. And if they can, I'm going to charge. So you roll 7. I get one move. So you measure. If it's within 12 inches, that unit can charge in. But if you did not give the order to charge, they'll stop an inch away, and that's where the movement ends. So, and charge. To charge unit, it has to be in your forward arc at the start of your movement. So to charge, so if you have a unit here, it can move forward and charge. If a unit is, so you got a French unit over here, the British here, you cannot charge it because it's not in your forward arc. So what you have to do, and a unit will not move forward through the zone of control of the units here. So this unit, what you're gonna have to do is give them order. The order is they're gonna have to move and deploy here. The next turn, you can charge in, but the unit has to be in the forward arc at the beginning of the charge. The also the thing about that, if a unit is in your forward arc, but you can't see them. So say like they're here, there's a hill. You can have your unit move over, and you still can have the unit charge if as soon as they can see it. But it's because it started in the forward arc. Same thing. There's the woods. You can't see each other, but you I'm going to move my guys to the woods, and when they come out, they can see it. They're going to charge them. So you make a roll. 7. It's one move you're not going to make it because it'd be normal movement as you come up to the woods. But as soon as you enter woods, it's like 6 inches of you lose. So you're going to be stuck in the woods. But if you roll good enough to get through the woods, as soon as you see an enemy, you can charge. Because even though you couldn't see at the beginning of your movement, it was still in your forward arc as you move through. So now there's maneuvers on the flanks. For a flank charge, a unit has to start onto the flank, and at least half your unit has to be beyond their front half. So if a unit's like, you got a 6-man stand unit. So they said, okay, I'm going to charge that unit. You charge in. You're not going to get in like this. That will not be a flank charge. But if you're far enough away, you still, to be in your flank is still a 45 degree. So you can go like this. Oop. And that's most of the rules. You gotta be like this. You gotta start like this. But a forward movement is still, your front arc is still a 45. So I still kind of allow, as long as you can get into the flank. So that makes they do it that way so you don't get like, so if you got a unit here, so I got 3 moves. So I'm gonna move here, and charge them like this. A unit that's not, will not allow a unit to march all the way around its flank and him on the flank. So a unit has to start onto its flank. Once you start here, then you can charge in with no penalties. So if these guys are locked in combat with a unit to a front, and a unit over here starts on its flank, then they can charge in and add it to the attack on that unit, and that's where stuff starts getting bad for the unit. But so once you start getting, it's the maneuvering. But usually in linear combat, you run out of room really quickly because you're covering such a large spot. So that is just a quick rundown as you play. So after about a turn, your players will understand the maneuvering and stuff. And by the time you're getting close, it's like almost all your units are in line. It's just marching up to the fields. Is if you march column to get them into the field faster. But once you get close enough, everybody's in line column, and that's how usually they stay for the rest of the game. Um, artillery also has another one. It's called prolonging. It is they move 6 inches, but they stay deployed. So if your unit's deployed, they can move 6 inches, and they still can fire. It's just they're manhandling the gun up. So then at the end of your turn, your commander gets this. After he's done issuing order, he issued all successful orders. Then he got 2 special rules that he has. He has follow me, boys, and rally. So rally is the important one. So if you got a unit that's taking casualties, so like say like this unit has 2 casualties, and you have not gave him an order this turn. This is the important thing because this is an order. If you ever gave him an order, you can't give him another order. So these guys haven't been given an order yet. The commander will go, okay, I'm going to try to rally that. What that means, he roll dice. If you make his command rating, you get you lower their casualties. Basically, you push men back in the ranks and stuff, and he goes over and he's attached. For this turn, he's attached. So if that unit takes casualties, he has a chance of taking a casualty too. The other one, which I have not really seen that used that much, but it's called Follow Me Boys. So I got one unit that hasn't been issued orders yet. You can go, okay, I'm going to issue Follow Me Boys for that unit. So it's a die roll. If you make it, you attach the leader to that unit, and they get 3 moves. So basically, he's attaching, and those 3 moves can be moved forward and charge and stuff like that. So it's you only need to make the leadership, and you automatically get 3 moves. So you need that desperate charge in to get that to save a unit, save your army. You get attached and go follow me, boys. You roll if you make it. You get 3 moves and flat rate. So, but I haven't seen it used that much. A lot of people forget about that one. It's the rallying they want to use the commander for. They keep their guy. And once a unit takes 1 casualty, once we get the casualty, they always have 1 casualty. So, and it's not the casualties don't cover like their men are dead or not. It's just guys out of unit, have fallen back or helping wounded to the rear. It's just your sergeants and stuff, and you try to get guys back into the line to form a line of combat. So it seems like there's a lot to movement and stuff, but once you get the basics done, and in the book it gives good diagrams and stuff, then your movement will be it's easy. Once you figure it out, it's easy. It's just the little tweaks and stuff here and there. So there's not much to it. So that covers on the movement. Our next line will be shooting. Shooting and stuff. Said how the rules are is that in one or 2 turns, your players will get a hand on how everything goes. So you can basically sit back and just help out when certain things come up. And certain things can be just odd things that there's no definition for, like how and that something like that. Either you can work it out, look at it, and work it out. Okay, this is how it would be. If both sides you just roll dice, high, low, odds or evens, that happens. So nice and simple. Just make a gentleman's agreement on it. And the rules are open for house rules. So there's a lot of house rules that people can add into it. They add more flavor to it to make it fit into what they're doing and stuff. So I hope this helps you out. as I said, next video is going to be on shooting. Then we get the shooting, then we get the hand-to-hand combat, then we get the rally phase, which is to keep your army on the table. So until later, guys, have a good day, and let's get some painted miniatures on the table.